Ramirez.
And I'm Ray Dieter from the Tribune Review.
I'm Jim DeBerza, and I'm trying to figure out why Tom's next to me again this week.
I really don't know. I guess I got the.
We wanted to
bad
see you
into
two
the
shake
lotto.
hands again. Just to prove there's no animosity on this set.
No hatred at all.
See
No.
that?
Yeah, we're not the Pitt Panthers or anything. So.
Let's just don't even mention them, please. Who'd they play today? Rutgers or Temple? See, the game hasn't happened by the time we're taping
Right.
this.
Yeah, but you
so-
can probably still
I'm
predict
betting,
it.
I'm betting they're losing at this point.
Yeah, 42-7. We have a lot to talk about this week. The No Mercy pay-per-view was last weekend, and so we're going to get into that a little bit. In addition to the events on Raw, and I'm not sure, but I think one of us won a title this week. We're going to have to check that when we come back from break. Mr. Dickinson has all that information. So we're going to come back and we're going to get into the No Mercy pay-per-view when we return. Right now, we're going to start the show off with the discussion on the greatest match, in my opinion, in the storied history of No Mercy. That's right. It's Chris Jericho and The Rock. We had, about 14, 15 matches to pick from, so...
Yeah, that's a long list.
Yeah.
So, a lot to pick from.
And technically, the Hell in a Cell, Undertaker, Shawn Michaels was Bad Blood, so that doesn't count, even though it was in October.
Good point.
Okay, well, we're going to come back and we're going to talk about... So, I don't know. I thought it was a... Tom, actually, I'd like to get your opinion.
You would, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I'll
on
tell
the
you
Rock
what.
Jericho match.
He's going to have to concede here, I know it.
With the exception of the main event, I thought it was a great match. I'll have to give Rock props, give him his credit. This isn't going to come real easy here, but he wrestled a good match, and he is a wrestler, so I do respect him for that feat. But no, I do give The Rock hell from time to time, every time we were on TV, as a matter of fact. But he did wrestle a good match, and all I know is when Jericho had him in the Lion's Salt, he had him in a Flying Moonsault. When he had him in the Lion Tamer, I just wanted The Rock to tap out. It would have been a nice little clean victory, clean victories. That term, clean victory.
Yes.
I don't know if our fans out there know what that is or not, but
Well,
what a clean victory
we do
is.
have a term segment coming up later.
There you go.
Perhaps that'll be the one.
But just when I saw Jericho in the sharpshooter, if Jericho would have tapped out on the other end of it, The Rock probably uses the worst sharpshooter this side of Stu Hart. But if Jericho would, I made a pact with one of my friends I was watching the pay-per-view with. If Jericho would have tapped out, I would have stopped watching wrestling, and the main event would have been shut off in favor of what's on Sunday nights. I don't know.
I don't know.
There certainly wasn't any football on those. So
Band of Brothers. I don't know.
There you go. Well, we talked last week on the show saying that Jericho probably could bring the best out of The Rock, and I think the potential was there for a very good match, and we definitely got one. The finish aside, I don't know where they're going with this. I think if we're talking about Jericho eventually turning heel, which I guess very possibly could still be coming, because they are the tag team champions now, and that, of course, always is the perfect foundation for a turn.
We'll get into that later, though, during our Raw segment.
Yeah.
About 17,000 rapid title changes in 2 hours.
Right. In fact, Jim is the reason he's not here right now. He's off beating Bradshaw for the European title. But anyway, I'd lost my train of thought. So Renee, go.
Well, no, you talk about if you want to talk about the finish of the Chris Jericho Rock match. I
Yes,
mean, I
that
can
was it.
understand where Tom's coming from. That it would have been nice, two guys, I guess, two faces at the time, have one of the guys win with a clean finish. Even if Rock doesn't want to tap out, have him get pinned. I know that's a stretch for the Rock, but the Stephanie McMahon thing. I guess if Jericho's going to turn heel, that's okay. But I don't really understand, and I don't see what a Jericho heel turn is going to do for Chris Jericho. I think he needs to be given a legitimate run as a babyface. I think if anybody should be turned heel, it's The Rock. And again, we brought up before on this show that I guess it's not foreseeable for The Rock to turn heel because he has that awesome Scorpion King movie coming out next summer. So, I just think that's, it's just a scapegoat reason for not turning The Rock heel. I think he's better as a heel. I think he's always been better as a heel. And I don't think turning Jericho heel is going to help this feud or Jericho himself.
You're probably right, but we've been wrong before.
Just a little tidbit
Not
I
often,
noticed.
though.
Jericho's had the title, as of this taping, maybe 48, 72 hours.
Well, we haven't
Already.
seen SmackDown yet,
No,
so
he probably lost it to The Rock again. So, just a little tidbit between the two, Jericho and The Rock. The Rock dragged the belt to the ring. Jericho held it like the belt actually meant something, carried it to the ring with him. Just one of those things.
Well, I agree with that point, and I
Give
think
the
it
belt
goes
a
back
little
again to The Rock. I mean, we talked about it before on this show about The Rock. Oh, he's had the WCW title. He basically made Booker T look like a curtain jerker. But the thing is, keeping the title on The Rock actually made Jericho's win seem more important because The Rock, I guess, established himself as WCW champion for at least a few months. And Jericho won it, and he seemed legitimately excited about it, as if you heard his comments towards Eric Bischoff on the internet, you know how excited he was.
Yes.
So, I mean, I think it goes back again to letting The Rock have the title for at least a little bit. I don't agree with him destroying Booker T for the last 2 months, but...
And speaking of which, if we're going to recap the pay-per-view, Booker T got destroyed yet again,
Yeah.
I would say.
You know,
had a
let me-
decent showing with... I'm sorry, Brian.
I was going to make one more comment about Jericho Brock before we jumped onto that. I think the other thing, too, about talking about the importance of the WCW title, and it's just one thing that The Rock did at the end of the match that I thought really helped the whole cause, was how he kind of hesitated, about standing with Jericho and trying to hesitating whether or not to congratulate him or whatnot. And even, I know we're jumping ahead, but the next night on Raw, whenever he kind of stood there with the belt and then put it over his shoulder, it kind of made the belt seem like it was a big deal. I'm sorry, Booker T.
Oh, yeah. Booker T got buried the end. Well, you had the tag teams of Booker T. Well, the tag team of Booker T and Test against the Brothers of Destruction, Mayhem, whatever I don't know what they're called, Undertaker and Kane. So when Test beat Kane, naturally, the obvious thing was, well, Undertaker's going to beat Booker T. And guess what? It happened. And guess what? It didn't make a hell of a lot of sense.
Yeah, I really don't understand where the WWF's going with Booker T right now. I mean, if you look at him and you can say, well, he carries himself like a main eventer. If you watched Raw, when he did or at least teased the Spinaroonie, I can't believe I just said that, the fans were going nuts, and WWF probably looks at that and says, well, he doesn't really need to win. He can get over with a gimmick. No, the thing is he has to beat somebody, and I realized that when you watch the match, they said, well, he holds 2 victories over The Undertaker. They're in tag team matches with outside interference. He needs a clean win. The Rock just completely ruined him for the first 2 months they feuded, so I don't understand where they're going with him. I mean, Booker T is 35, 36 years old. Do something with him now, please.
Yeah, that would be a nice idea, but, I don't know. The WWF's gotten our hopes up before, like they have with Booker T in this situation. I mean, whenever he first came in, it really looked like they were going to make a big deal out of him and make him into the main eventer that, we know he can be, and I think most of the people there know he can be, but for some odd reason it hasn't panned out. But we have a whole slate of matches to get to, though, including Test, Kane, which Jim actually is reviewing tape of as we speak. So we're going to come back and we're going to talk a little bit more about No Mercy when we return.
And one of the matches, I guess one of the marquee matches, was the ladder match between Intercontinental Champion Christian against his brother, Edge.
You saying they're not really brothers?
Well, they're as much brothers as Kane and The Undertaker are.
You sure they're not
They're tall and...
bros?
What did you just do?
I don't know. It's a street thing.
Stop it.
Can we get that on
Yeah,
camera?
stop it.
That
That's
wasn't
a
on
street-
camera,
Let's get
so-
that on camera, man.
Stop it.
It's a street thing,
All right, well, Street Man, why don't you start talking about this match and what your opinions were on it?
Well, I thought it was a little slow. I mean, we've always seen in the past one-on-one ladder matches be very good. I think the problem might be, and I'm just speculating here, that these guys are so used to working with 4 other guys in ladder matches and table matches. I mean, they obviously had an idea what they wanted to do. They progressed it. Just the pace of the match didn't seem where it should have been.
Well, I'm gonna throw out this idea. It's the fact that the WWF, obviously likes these ladder matches, likes the table, ladder, and chairs matches. And the problem with that is they do them all the time. You go back to Shawn Michaels versus Razor Ramon in 1994 at WrestleMania 10. The next ladder match after that was on a pay-per-view was in 98. 4 years.
95.
Yeah, it was
Well,
SummerSlam.
I'm okay. They went a year, and then after that, it was 3 years. They went 98 with The Rock and Triple H at SummerSlam. So even a year, I can understand. But they have ladder matches, it seems like, every 4 months, every 6 months. You have to make this match seem like a pay-per-view match. And they don't do that.
I'm going to throw another theory out there for us to talk about, and obviously people think out at home. You think maybe they gave him this match to see, well, let's put it this way. Do you think this match could have made one of these guys a star if they performed like Shawn Michaels, Razor Ramon level? You think maybe that's why they gave him this match so soon?
No. I think they gave him this match because Edge and Christian said, well, we're going to come up with some spots for it, and we think it'd be a good idea.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
No, I don't think
But you
this
gotta
was a career-making match in any sense. Because the ladder match, as far as I'm
no,
concerned,
it
has been tarnished.
wasn't. From the performance of what they did, it wasn't. But I'm saying, do you think maybe someone in the back said, whoever's in creative control said, well, maybe Edge can just skyrocket after this? I mean, that could be a theory that they were working on. They didn't perform
yeah, but
like
you
that.
know
don't
what?
get
I
me
mean,
wrong.
they've had the 3 other TLC matches these guys have been involved in, and not to take anything away from them. And plus, you had the ladder match with them and the Hardys. What was it, like almost 2-3 years ago now. I think if the ladder match was going to be that pivotal, one of these guys are going to break out. They would have broken out a long time ago. I don't think you could really depend on that. That being said, I was disappointed in the match, probably for the same reasons Rennie mentioned before, because there's ladder matches constantly. And I don't want to see another ladder match until like SummerSlam next year. You know, I mean, if they're going to do another one, I wouldn't mind waiting longer than that. But the other problem now too is the reason that you have so many ladder matches. There's so many more pay-per-views now than there used to be. So I guess the coming up with fresh ideas is, you know, sort of
Out of the question.
yeah.
Well, the thing is, a while back on SmackDown, they actually gave away a tables, ladders, and chairs match for free on TV, and that completely kills that match for pay-per-view basis because let's say, for example, you have Hell in a Cell and you put it on a Raw, then why would you even care to watch it on a pay-per-view? I mean, obviously the guys involved make a big difference, but the thing is that should be your pay-per-view match
I
that
agree.
settles a feud.
I agree, but to some degree, you also got to put it on the wrestlers themselves. I mean, you have to perform. I mean, Bossman, Undertaker, Hell in a Cell. But you could put, I mean, back when it was
I need
Kane
a dry
Undertaker and
towel over
Austin,
here.
I mean, you can put that match on Raw. It's all in the intensity of what you do in the ring. Now, granted, you should save the match for pay-per-view and shouldn't do it on TV, but there's ways around that.
Yeah.
And Edge and Christian could have put on a 5-star match here, and I kind of disagree with you. I think one of them could have broken out in this match. Could have became a bigger single star. It just didn't happen.
They're
for whatever
becoming
reason.
associated with ladder matches so much that it's like nothing stood out. If they would have had a first blood match, maybe, or
Yeah.
something a little different. I'm not telling the writers to go have a roll of quarters on a 50-foot pole match. I mean, that's obviously something that John Tenta and Big Bubba showed doesn't
Silver
work.
dollar.
Or Vern Gagne.
Whoever. But my point is, they're become so associated with ladder matches. They need to have something different. Have a 30-minute Iron Man match. Have a submission match. Come up with something. They just did this because they're like, well, Edge and Christian, fans associate them with the ladders, so let's just do it.
Well, let's also bring up this feud isn't over yet, so you're gonna see, maybe you'll see one of those matches down the line.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the feud's not over, and that's another problem I had with this match is taking the belt off Christian already. And I think this is another reason why either of these two guys breaking out as a major single star is going to be hampered even further because, you know, it's like Edge wins the belt, then Christian wins the belt, then Edge wins the belt. I mean, you know, why couldn't you keep it on Christian for, you know, another month, another 2 months? Because I don't think Christian's established. You know, I think it's obvious that he's, you know, one of the bigger heels they have, but, you know, of course he's lumped into the whole lines now, but he's not established. Edge is more established. He did not need this title belt. And I think that's another problem with this.
But it goes back again to the grand scheme of things, and we're going to get to Raw a little bit later, but they wanted to get all the titles off the Alliance for whatever reason. I guess we'll find out on SmackDown, which
Yeah.
hasn't occurred as of this taping. But, you know, I can agree with that. I think, you know, for Christian, I don't think he's established as a killer heel, as it maybe on the level of someone like a Triple H, obviously not yet. But, yeah, it wouldn't hurt to let him have the title. Maybe here's a little, you know, this is really going to be out there, but have him defend the title against someone other than Edge once in a
Now
while.
you're going crazy.
You know, it doesn't always have to be Edge, Christian for 4 months in a row.
Yeah.
So,
Well, let's talk about something on the show, at least that I thought was a pleasant surprise, and that was actually Test and Kane. I thought Test Kane had a much better match than anybody could have possibly expected them to have. Not that it was a 5-star classic, but when
It was
you
a
put
hard-hitting kind of match.
yeah, and both guys worked hard and made things look good, and I think that was important. And I give them both credit because I think everybody thought that match was going to suck, and it certainly didn't. So credit to them.
Sure.
I'm waiting for him to, you know.
I'll talk about testing the Raw segment.
Gouge
I think we
test.
gotta get out of this segment now.
Okay, we got more No Mercy.
Right. So we're going to come back and we're going to talk more about the pay-per-view, including the big triple threat main event that no one wanted to see. So come back.
Mercy, but we're going to try to wrap it up this segment.
Hell, we haven't got out of 2 matches yet.
We're having
I
No
can't-
Mercy on the people at home. with this
Well, I can't promise anything we're going to get out of it, but one of the higher points, and maybe that's a little tongue-in-cheek here on my part, but I would say would be the lingerie match. The best lingerie match this side of Patterson-Briscoe.
You know, I remember when Moolah and Mae Young put that on in 1953. Unbelievable match.
Wow, what kind of access to videotape do you have?
Yeah, I got some tapes, man.
I didn't see any in our library back there dated beyond
Oh,
62.
It's out back behind the catering truck.
Oh, it's out in the yard.
Right, yeah.
I mean, I know that I'm desecrating manhood here by saying this, and I know I'm probably the only person who feels this way. I freaking hate these matches. I do. These just cater to the drunk 18 to 35-year-old men in the crowd who have no jobs.
18-year-old drunks. There's no such thing,
No.
Brian.
Who have
For
no
some reason I
jobs
look at
and
Tom as you say that.
no aspirations and have kids they don't pay any, you know,
Okay,
child
you should
support on.
stop now.
Jeez.
No, but that's
You know what?
These are the matches that they cater to those people. I just don't like them. I mean, I think they're boring. It takes away from why couldn't we have Kidman defending the cruiserweight title?
Well,
It
you know,
takes away
here's
from
a
that.
thought. Why couldn't Tori and Stacey learn how to wrestle?
Oh, now you're getting stupid.
Well, I'm sorry. You know, Molly Holly's somewhere and actually got a gimmick change and is getting pushed moderately. You know, hey, she's the best wrestler in wrestling right now.
Well, I'm going to go out on a limb here. Dare I say that probably 90% of the people, obviously all men, maybe a few women, who knows, with the WWF fans, look forward to a match like that. No, you're not going to get great wrestling.
Well,
You're not going to get
it
any wrestling.
sells. I mean,
For 2 minutes, I don't mind. And maybe, I'm a heathenist for saying that or whatnot. We probably could have stood to see a Billy... I don't even know his name anymore. He hasn't been on TV for so
Billy
long.
Gunn.
Billy Gunn. We could have seen a Billy Gunn cruiserweight match. I mean, Kidman. Why'd you say Billy Gunn?
I just threw it in there. I don't know.
Trying to screw me up, Jim.
Oh,
Little do you know, our lines are on the laptop. I fooled you.
Oh God!
Jim
That's
says
why this
you
thing's here.
Tom to Brian. Brian, why are you looking at the computer?
Our
Brian
researchers
to
are
Tom.
working. We aren't paying them for anything. Man, I tell you.
But anyway, the debacle that was the lingerie match.
Let's get off this. We spent way too much time on that match already.
Okay.
Well, let's talk about the main event. We didn't even talk about the main event. We're halfway through this show. It was a three-way dance, and it was or a triple threat or a whatever you want to call it. It was
Three-way dance, I think.
yeah,
Oh.
three-way triple.
Why do they got to
threat.
dance? Why can't it be like a three-way?
knows?
Forget it.
It was Steve Austin, Rob Van Dam, and of course everybody's Olympic hero, Kurt Angle.
Kurt Angle.
I don't know. It was okay. I mean, it wasn't awful. Rob Van Dam didn't seriously injure anybody, and that's.
But there was blood in it, we might like to add. And it wasn't courtesy of Van Dam.
No, it wasn't. It was courtesy of Vince McMahon, who whacked Steve Austin in the back of the head with a chair. Dare I say, busting him open hard way.
Uh-oh.
I don't know. I don't care really. It wasn't that great. I think the Jericho Rock match kind of overshadowed it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was okay. I mean,
Well, the
Van Dam did his stuff, and the kids went wild. And
for being compressed into 20, 25 minutes as long as the match was, the spots in it were designed obviously to get the guys in it over.
Yeah.
Van Dam doing his spots, Angle, Austin. The spots were arranged in such a way that it made for an interesting match, near
Yeah.
falls and so to speak. But it was a good match. Everybody knew Austin was going to retain except me. So
Yeah,
No.
and on that line, actually, just mentioning before about Austin, it legitimately was busted open with that chair shot. I think if, well, as you know what, they said that on Ross. This may not be true. I thought they said it took staples to close the wound.
it did take about 12 staples,
Yeah,
something
okay.
like that. If you listen to the internet buzz or whatnot.
Yeah.
real quick, actually, it's on the computer. I think Rennie's emailing us now. So
Rennie, wherever
If we-
you're
if
at,
we
Jim
can go to
touched the
him.
screen.
Yeah, I'm
have something to
sorry, is
say.
that your computer? Rennie?
live from Studio X.
Well, we can hear a voice.
Studio X.
But-
My voice. Do not pay attention to that
Oh my
man
God.
behind the mirror. Okay.
It's a 1950s picture.
Yeah, I know. Look, see. One of the things I liked about the three-way match was the fact that none of the guys really got lost in it. I think there might have been a tendency for Kurt Angle to get lost in the match because he really was kind of just thrown in there because there was nothing else for him to do. So, that's one of the things that I liked about it. Done.
All right.
Well,
Back.
here's one of the
All that
things-
extra
here's-
money. Oh, go ahead, Jim.
Brace yourself. Here's something I didn't like. I think it would have been a lot better for the villainy of Steve Austin if Kurt Angle would have lost the belt.
The
there.
what?
The villainy. I don't know. It just seemed like a quick victory. It didn't matter that it was so quick and decisive because Austin already had the belt and he
Yeah.
retained. And maybe I'm just splitting hairs. I don't know. And I'm sure you'll tell me at home if I'm wrong. So I'm sorry. I'm done.
We really need a cricket soundbite
Yeah.
for these little moments that we have.
Oh God, we forgot about the Big Show and Tajiri against the Dudleys in a hard-hitting WWF Tag Team Title match. That
You know,
I don't even remember that.
was
match.
it
saw that
you
on
or
my
Rennie
kids'
last week
show.
that talked about the Big Show and his improvement and his?
I think it was Rennie.
What the hell were you thinking?
I think he's
No,
right.
it was Rennie, not me.
No, you know what? I'm going to stand
Oh,
by. I'm going to
sorry.
stick up for Randy. I think he's right.
I
don't
don't
think. I don't think Big Show's going to main event next month.
No, I don't think Big
he's-
Show's going to main event ever.
But he's taken the small steps to be for his
Competent.
matches. Yes, toward competency. His matches are watchable now.
Well, I'll
he's
give you
shown
that.
personality.
I'll give you
now.
that. But
that's
even
all.
6 months down the line, mark my words, write it down at home. He's not going to be a main event.
But damn it, Jimmy's improving.
Slightly.
But nonetheless,
Slightly. Well,
We've
you're
been
going,
calling
you're going
for
from a
this.
monster bit of suck here to, well, he's not so bad anymore. It's like Test.
Oh,
oh come on.
I got to talk about him on Raw next segment, so we'll get to that.
I'd like to bring up the fact that I hate Test for any reason other than himself. The fact that they don't push him. That's why I hate Test. He's
I
so
actually
much more
like the
valuable.
I like the Test Booker T team, but I just, he performed well Sunday. I didn't think he performed as well Monday, but that's really.
Oh, we can't get into Raw yet.
No, we're still on.
Well, the opening match, we're black and white. I was just going to say it was not hard hitting. It was fast paced. The crowd was monster into it. And it wasn't a good opening match. More opening matches should be that way.
We gotta go,
Are
Tom.
we black and white or are we just black?
Yeah. Well, we're gonna have a press conference coming up from FDR, and then we're gonna come back and talk about Raw.
My fellow Americans.
Lean back. Here we go. 5, 4, 3.
Welcome back to Pro Wrestling Review, and we're going to jump into Raw, and, well, I'm going to rip into Test.
You might as well start now. It's going
yeah.
to take all 7
No,
minutes.
I'm not going to rip into Test really bad. I mean, he did perform well Sunday. Monday, I wasn't as impressed. he needs to take a lesson from Bradshaw on the clothesline. Yeah, he has a pretty good kick. But when you do it 5 or 6 times in a match, it kind of loses its effectiveness on both the crowd and the intensity of it. Just a thought.
I can agree with that for the most part. I think you just have this blind hatred for Test that just clouds
Well,
your
no,
vision.
did I just not say he performed well Sunday?
Oh, you have to say that, Jim. He was
Oh,
in a
really?
tag team match with that other guy against The Undertaker and Kane. So,
That guy.
Booker T.
yeah, that guy. So
No,
what
and
do you
just to
expect
finish
from
up my
him?
thought, I think him and T, it's one of those auto combinations that might be able to work.
Out of the 4 questions correctly. However, the 4th question, which was named the light heavyweight match at WWF Bad Blood in October 1997, well, the guys kind of screwed that one up a little bit. They originally thought Scott Putski versus Brian Christopher was the answer, but weren't sure if that match happened at Bad Blood or Ground Zero. So that question's thrown out. David Wolf of Oakdale, you receive a large pizza with 1 topping, an order of wings, and a liter of a beverage of your choice from Pizza Works in Dravosburg. Okay, people, so for next week, there are 3 questions once again on our website. Answer all 3 of those, plus the following question, which is, name the original members of the 4 Horsemen. Remember, wrestlers only. Get onto our website, www.prowrestling.com, prowrestlingreview.com. Go to the trivia icon and answer all of the questions. Don't forget your name and address. Okay, good luck.
They'll push Test in a moment. Booker T, who is the more talented of the 2.
Don't forget, though, Test is a Vince McMahon creation, and we all know that he favors
You know,
them over his...
yeah, but he's got to get past it. He's got to get past this size thing and this. Booker
Vince
T,
McMahon. He's
Booker
gonna
T's
do
the
this-
better wrestler and will be the better moneymaker. Test has no personality. He's okay, but he's limited in the ring, and I'm really going off on him, aren't I? I'm sorry, I'll stop. So, Tom, what do you think of Raw?
I watched another edition of Raw from 2 years ago, and I'm getting them intertwined right now, so I really don't know. I mean,
Yeah,
the
let's
Raw,
talk about that big boss man,
If you
Bull
saw,
Buchanan.
I was going to say, if you saw Midian, that was from 2 years ago.
it was around that time, I believe,
Like
because
that
The
time.
Godfather was still bringing the women out. So bear with me if I, slip back into about 2 years ago. But Raw wasn't too bad. I mean, compared to some of the past shows we've gotten this past months, the past several months, wasn't too bad of a show. The rapid fire title changes we alluded to earlier. 3 or 4, what was it, 4 by the end of the night? Titles that changed hands.
Let's see, Bradshaw won the European.
Yeah, it was
Light
4.
heavyweight
It was
title,
4.
it's 4.
Bradshaw,
I'm sorry,
Tajiri, the tag team belts.
I couldn't
and-
remember Tajiri. And what was the 4th?
And, well,
I don't know.
light heavyweight, we said
That's
that.
good. We really paid attention.
US.
US,
Kurt Angle.
no,
I
right.
think the point of this discussion is the fact that they changed the titles too quickly. But I mean, and I did say this on my very short Raw report this week, and was the fact that it seemed like the WWF had somewhat direction to it with Vince McMahon, Linda McMahon, making out in the middle of the ring, but also telling us that Survivor Series was going to be the end of this Alliance versus WWF feud. I
Okay.
mean, do you see this as giving up, or do you think they have something planned where they're just going to
I
push
think they
it
have
on for
something.
another
I
few
think they have
months?
something planned, and part of it will happen in November with one person, and part of it will happen in January, which we've talked about before.
That's
So
certainly
I'll share my theory if you'd like to hear it. I mean, I'm sure people at home
Go right
just
ahead.
dying.
I
I
already
think.
blew Test out of the water.
Well, no, I think the Survivor Series. I assume it'll be 5-on-5. I assume Rob Van Dam will be part of the Alliance team. I think he takes the loss, maybe goes to the WWF, and maybe they push him to the moon.
You're forgetting, though, that based on what Vince McMahon said, that if the Alliance wins, I guess that if it's a particular match, then they go on and the WWF is done.
Oh, yeah,
Well, I'm
that's
saying
going to
the
happen.
Alliance loses. Van Dam costs them the match or terms or whatever, and he goes to the WWF.
Well, so
And
you're
you
saying
just
the
kind
Alliance
of
will be
you
done.
kind of forget about some of the Alliance guys. Keep a few of them on TV and Hall Nash in January.
I'm getting
I'm not
a
thrilled about
really
it, but-
weak feed in here through my earpiece that Brian wanted to say something over in Studio X, I believe.
Studio XXX.
So
Yeah.
if we could go to that, even though... Oh, there he is.
Hey. Yeah. I hate to break it to the WWF, but the Alliance WWF storyline's already over. It's been over since July sometime. I don't know. I mean, I guess the name Alliance won't exist after Survivor Series, or WWF won't exist, one or the other, but I don't know. It doesn't feel like much of an invasion to me anymore. It seems like a friendly invasion. I mean, it's like, hey, come on in, Booker T, let's fight The Undertaker. I mean, it's over. It's
We
been
share
over.
locker rooms together,
Yeah, so that's my 23 cents worth on the Alliance.
What a stamp used to cost.
Well, one of the things that has to be addressed is, the possibility of WCW getting their own promotion, getting their own show.
I still
In
think
and of
that's the
its-
end result.
I really doubt it. Half their guys are in minor leagues right now. And granted, by the time they're ready maybe to kick another show and, thus another promotion.
Well, I'll talk about it a
WCW
little bit in my rant, but I think the Jericho Rock situation is kind of with the world title, not the tag team titles. But I think it's kind of leading toward that, and well, it should. I mean, if that's the end result, you have to build toward it.
I would really hope so. I mean, the guys they have right now in WCW, obviously none of them are over, and Dallas Page is not over. I mean, some of his things are mildly amusing, and that's all they are.
No, I wouldn't.
But-
That's giving him a lot of credit.
Well, I'm
Well,
trying. This man right here, I can't give any credit to, so I'm trying really hard.
Isn't that your book?
Yeah, that's my book. I went out and bought that.
That's
Just-
just
I actually
free.
think I did.
Just
for-
today.
Working for the trip, don't you get that for free? Or-
What are you doing? You can't say those kind of things to me.
It's another
Trouble.
exclusive.
Jeez, it's like
What were, you
Star
gonna,
Magazine.
what were you going to say? Because I was going to allude to whatever you were going to say, because I think I know
I don't
what you're going to
remember
say.
now.
It's right on there.
He got me off course as usual, so I don't remember.
Oh, for WCW to be taken seriously as a promotion, I probably said this from week to week, so I don't even remember. But you have Hall and Nash available, obviously, early next year. Maybe a Scott Steiner, possibly a Jeff Jarrett, one of the best workers in the business today that you don't see and probably won't see anymore. Then WCW take it a little more seriously. With a world champion, maybe Jericho by that time, I really doubt he'll hold it that long, because belts don't hold, people don't hold belts that long anymore.
Well, it doesn't matter if he holds it that long. It matters if there's an air of legitimacy and seriousness and intensity about the belt.
Well, this is also the same company that gave the U.S. title to Chris Kanyon because, he's Kanyon, and let's give him the U.S. title because he really doesn't want it.
The situation's perfect. I mean,
If the possibility of WCW not becoming a separate show and a separate promotion, unify the belts. I don't think you can hold off till WrestleMania, maybe just a world title by then, but Survivor Series, Royal Rumble around that time. Try to unify the belts, maybe give them a little more prestige, because I'm so sick and tired of seeing people carry belts down that don't mean anything, like, the European title, the U.S. title, Intercontinental title maybe a little bit. Cruiserweight title doesn't mean a whole hell of a lot. Women's title's gone. It's in that new movie with the NSYNC guy, with Chyna's wearing it in the movie, so...
Okay, well, I think we're done with Raw. We'll talk about it again next week, we hope, unless it's canceled. But we're going to come back and we're going to have a little discussion amongst the three of us about who the greatest tag team was. So stay with us.
Tag team wrestling, a lost art in the business of sports entertainment. But there's been, there's been tons of tag teams over the years.
there's been a few.
Yeah, so I guess we're going to talk about some of the ones that we particularly feel were some of the better ones.
It's a short list, people.
Say hi to the folks, Tom.
Give them a wink.
Well, I'll start. I think probably maybe you can go with best overall if you want to get into that discussion. I think the Steiner brothers had a pretty good run for maybe longevity.
This was 1980 Steiner's Brothers, right?
Well, yeah, I think their best years were in the early '90s, but I mean, you got to take into account they did have a run in the late '90s. But the fact is, I mean, for innovative moves, for drawing power, for overall well-being over, I think the Steiners really, they were really good.
They were darn
Drew Blake,
good,
what I wanted
people.
to say, they were okay in my
This is a dynamic discussion.
man. I tell you,
They were pretty
really-
okay.
Somebody take it.
Yeah.
For the
All
love
right,
of
look,
God,
all right.
save me.
Good,
No, it's a
Tom.
pretty good idea. It's a great idea for a segment. I applaud you for coming up with it. In my
Oh,
pick
don't
for,
blame me for this.
well, can I come up with a bad team too that I feel was
Yeah,
really
hell.
crappy in my eyes? Okay. Well, for innovative spots, as you said about the Steiner brothers, what about the British Bulldogs? Dynamite Kid, possibly, great wrestler. Too bad I don't know what his story was. Injuries, whatever else happened to him. Davey Boy, just steroids. Oh, you can't say that on TV.
No,
You think?
that's why I didn't say it out loud.
Well, nobody heard you at home.
It just flashed.
Well,
in my
I was
ears.
trying to be nice for the poor guy. I mean, I don't know
Well,
where he's
hey.
at today. I salute you wherever you're
Yeah,
at.
you know, the wrestlers know the risk. I mean,
Well, let's not get into that. I mean, let's just talk about the British
Sorry.
Bulldogs here.
yeah, they were good.
Davey Boy Smith, obviously, just taking up a role, was good for what he was. Dynamite Kid, like I started to say, I don't even know if I finished saying it, possibly the first top rope suplex ever in a wrestling classic against Randy Savage. He went on to lose the match, but it was a great move.
Well,
Didn't he
I-
lose the match by count out?
I think he did.
I think Davey Boy, before he put on 50 pounds of muscle and whatever.
Cortisone.
Right. I think he was a little more than competent. I mean, let's not give him too bad a rep for those days. I mean,
Oh, come on, Jimmy was a blithering idiot.
blithering.
Speaking
That is a
of-
British term, I believe.
Speaking of blithering idiots, you want to take this tag team away? You can probably
That's very nice, being mean to me like that.
No. Blithering idiots being the tag team I'm referring to.
Oh, I think
Read
you're talking
between the
about me.
lines.
I don't read very well. I like, I think my team would probably be the Hart Foundation.
That's the team I was talking about. Blithering Idiot being Jim Neidhart.
Well, I mean, obviously that tag team spawned Bret Hart's singles career, and then it abruptly ended in 1997. But and
No,
then
he retired in 2000. You know.
like I said, it ended in '97. And then you have Jim Neidhart, who was just an anvil.
A
and-
face in the crowd. The old Tom Petty song goes.
What the hell was
Filled a
that?
roster spot.
Well, no, I mean, when
Well-
it was Bret and the Anvil, they actually worked well together.
The only reason
Good
they stuck him
chemistry,
together.
good team chemistry, and you can't overrate chemistry between.
I'm not saying the Anvil should be world champion in singles title.
The only reason they have good team chemistry is because Brett did everything and Neidhart just picked up the pieces. Plus, his last name was Hart, too, so
But
they stuck
it's-
them together.
But it's funny. Oh, yeah, Neidhart.
Well, it's in there.
It's funny you bring that up because I guess when the Hart Foundation was first put together, they saw the Anvil as the guy with all the charisma and Bret Hart as just the wrestler, keep your mouth shut.
This is when ZZ Top was very big also. I'd
Did
like
they
to
ever
point
see
out.
Anvil as the power wrestler?
Maybe. I don't know.
Wow.
They always said he played for the Oakland Raiders. I think every wrestler that comes through has to play with the Oakland Raiders. Bradshaw did it. The Anvil did it. They lied and said Ron Simmons did it, I think. So I don't
He
know.
played for Florida State. I believe.
I know.
That's
Can't
what
you
I.
just
That's what I
read-
hear.
All right, let's belt out some more tag
Yeah,
teams
I
that
think
really
it's
kicked
obvious.
ass.
There's one that you guys have all named your favorite. My favorite, obviously, being Strike Force. No,
And
What about- what
don't
about
forget their theme song, "Girls with Guitars."
How about
it's
the
Girls
Can-Am
and
Connection?
Cars.
Talk to him.
Wait, whoa! Wasn't that the theme song for Honky Tonk and Valentine?
No, that was Rhythm and Dudes. Greg
Wow.
Valentine with jet
Okay.
dark hair
You want to talk about really
Anyway.
crappy tag teams? Rhythm and
I was
Blues.
going to bring up a good tag
for
team.
2 weeks.
The Rockers.
Go ahead, go right ahead.
The New
It's got a
Rockers.
thumb in the eye or something. No, yeah, the New Rockers, tremendous team. My personal favorite of all time, the Midnight Express,
Of old.
consisting of Stan Lane and Bobby Eaton. Bobby Eaton, about 100 years before his time. And there's another guy too. Talk about a guy not having a look. Bobby Eaton just looked like a
Hell.
drunk redneck that you would see in Denny's in Tennessee.
I was just going to suggest he didn't look like a
Where's that list of
wrestler.
sponsors we have?
Yeah.
Let's go up to Denny's. and
Denny's
cross
isn't
them off.
on it anyway. M&M's is, but Denny's isn't. But I personally, they're my personal favorites. They do some moves you still see today that people consider
Yeah,
innovative.
You're right, there's a team that had it all. I mean,
Yeah.
they were, they did some cruiserweight moves. They had a lot of innovative tag team moves. A lot of,
They weren't afraid to use the powder.
It's true.
Remember that?
what
dude?
the hell?
This guy-
Oh,
I
okay,
mean-
I get
No,
you.
I don't mean it like. Oh man, that was a really bad reference. You know what I mean?
But
Any other time that would have
these
been.
guys had great. I mean, you put these guys together, and everyone thought, Stan Lane and Bobby Eaton, you're breaking up two great tag teams there. And turns out, I think probably like you said, one of the best tag teams of all time.
I think one of the worst periods in tag team wrestling, if you have to look back at the WWF from like 93 until about 97, they had some of the worst tag teams between Well Done,
They had three.
Smoking Guns,
Godwins.
I think
Godwins.
3 teams as a whole.
Don't forget about Owen Hart and Coco Beware.
oh, High Energy. There's another
Yeah,
good team.
real quick, let me throw in another good team. How about Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard?
Oh, excellent team.
Great heel team, and one more great heel team that we mentioned before: Chris Adams and Gino Hernandez.
Both dead, unfortunately, but ahead of their time, and
So,
nobody remembers.
Tag
them,
team
unfortunately.
wrestling doesn't have a place in wrestling anymore. We shall return with our world famous rant segment.
I mentioned last week, I think I even predicted it, that Chris Jericho was going to win. He had to win, and I think if they did it right, it could lend a lot of credibility and seriousness to the title, both by Jericho and the fans. And lo and behold, I got one right, huh? But the match was great. They mentioned it in the first segment. I'm just going to throw my sense in. The match was great all through. They built it great. I think the match should have ended when Chris Jericho had the lion tamer on. I think it would have been a perfect way. I know The Rock doesn't like tapping out, whatever. I think up till that point, the match drama was great. The crowd was really into it. I think if you could have ended it there, you wouldn't have lost anything. Having Stephanie come down, it was an okay finish, and I think you lost more by doing it with what Stephanie did than you would have had if you just had Chris Jericho make The Rock tap out. However, I think the mission was accomplished from what I said. I think the WCW World Title belt, believe it or not, is in better position is now than it was last week at this time.
Very well said.
Well, thank you.
I agree with you. And mine is not but to rant this week because I really don't have anything to rant about. And it just really escaped my mind what I was about to say. I understand it's more of a question, a rhetorical question, if you will, that does have an answer. Everybody's been critical of Van Damme injuring people left and right, busting Angle open, busting Austin open, just being careless in the ring, working stiff. Now, my question to whoever the hell wants to answer it is, say you have a Rick Steiner and a Lash LaRue. Lash LaRue's out of shape. Management tells him to get in shape. He says whatever. Tell Rick Steiner to go out there and beat the living hell out of him, and he does. That's being careless with somebody in the ring. Granted, it is a payback in part to Lash LaRue for being out of shape, or you have acolytes beating the hell out of Public Enemy. That's really uncalled for. It's like I'm in a movie theater and Skittles are rolling down past me as I watch Vertical the Limit. Anyway, with that in mind, the acolytes beating the hell out of Public Enemy is great, compelling television. I just love the fact that Ted Petty, whatever his name was, Rocco Rock, was 55 years old and taking a chair shot to the head. But is this the same thing as being careless with somebody in the ring? I posed the question to you. Take it away.
Oh, am I supposed to answer it? Or
No. The people out there. But if you want
I
to go
say
right ahead.
maybe.
A pretty good maybe on one account.
I'd say no because Rick Steiner didn't kill him.
He
But-
should have.
Yeah. Eric Bischoff. Oh man. Chris Jericho, the morning after winning the WCW title, in an interview with WWE, or actually I guess it was WCW.com, was talking about, it's the same thing, WWF.com, whatever, about how winning the WCW title was always a dream of his, and that basically Eric Bischoff can shove it because he never gave him the opportunity. Well, I think Chris Jericho maybe was a little out of line saying that because quite honestly, Eric Bischoff's not even a quotient anymore, a part of the quotient anymore. Anyway. Eric Bischoff, of course, in an exclusive to OneWrestling.com, sent his wife, Bob Ryder, a response and said that, Chris Jericho, he defends the decision he made in WCW a couple years ago by not having Chris Jericho and Bill Goldberg feud with one another because Goldberg wasn't ready and Chris Jericho wasn't ready, and it would have been a bad idea because if it only ended with Chris Jericho losing or Bill Goldberg having to learn psychology and ended up losing the match, it's like, all right, Eric, look, just for one, shut up. And for two, I think Jericho has a legitimate point. He toiled for 3 years in that company, and if it was any more obvious that the glass ceiling could not be penetrated, that WCW was the perfect example. So I think Bischoff should just keep his mouth shut and realize he made a stupid mistake, lost a great talent, and lo and behold, WCW's out of business.
And also, don't forget, Eric Bischoff also lost his job.
Yes.
So, just
Twice.
something small. Yeah, just little, but
Yeah.
Yeah, hi, I'm back here.
There you go.
I just wanted to talk about two things that I remember from Raw that we kind of didn't really talk about. The first one's Mick Foley. I think as much as I can't stand Foley, and as much as I can't stand the fact that he has to carry his books with him everywhere, including at the Tough Enough training facility, I think his interaction with William Regal was actually something that was actually a positive from Raw. These two worked really well together, including Regal saying to Foley not to touch his knob, which I thought was tremendously funny because Regal thought the same. The other thing I wanted to point out, too, about Raw, and this is something that happened at the pay-per-view, was the fact that it appears that WWF is starting to do something with Matt Hardy and Lita. Matt Hardy, being the Babe Magnet he is, walked in or actually met up with Stacy Keibler at the pay-per-view, and then came into Trish's locker room when she was topless. So I guess if you look at this, and I posed this question on the website during my Raw report, is this an excuse for the WWF to do something with Matt Hardy, or is it an excuse for them to do something with Lita? I'm betting on Lita because I still don't think the WWF has confidence in Matt Hardy or Jeff Hardy.
That was inspiring.
I tried.
Well, I guess if you want to read my column, why not? It's called Sharpshooter. You can pick it up in the Daily News on newsstands everywhere right now. Well, everywhere in this area. I mean, you couldn't get it in Canada. But you can check it out on the internet at www.dailynewsmckeesport.com, columnist section. That's pretty much it.
If you want to read my column, you can pick it up on the newsstands tomorrow, or you can read it on the web. It's www.triblab.com/sports. I'm going to do a special column on everyone's favorite WCW wrestler, Jeff Jarrett, and some of the problems he's had with the WWF in the past, and why Vince McMahon, it would behoove him to go ahead and put his differences aside with Jeff and maybe sign him to a contract and help out what's left of this toiling alliance.
I hope I see the word behoove in your column.
It will be there.
It's like the third time we use it this show, isn't it?
Huh?
It's like the third time we use it this show.
No, what are you trying to say?
Shut up, man.
Yeah,
Check us out on the internet, ProWrestlingReview.com. Mail us at ProWrestlingReview@Lycos.com. And we want to do another letter segment, so get your mail in.
What about that question, Jim?
That question again.
That
The trivia
question?
question. After you click on trivia and answer those three, the question again is, name the original 4 members of the 4 Horsemen.
the wrestling members.
The wrestling members, yes.
And as I nurse a bloodied lip here, check out the website, obviously. And I bit it during the show. I was in tears. For Rennie, for Brian, that was kind of cool. My voice echoed when you did that. For me, and for you.
Just like WCW goes right back to it again.
This is the Pro Wrestling Review, and we will see you again. Bye.